All right, it is time for NFL Weeks 5 recap and tier rankings. This is the video idea that I really, wanted to try do a little bit different. It's a way to recap each game, look at each team, look at how they're doing, but then also rank them because doing a top 5 isn't fun because I'm not getting a chance to or see where I wanted to put each team, in a ranking, how I think they're doing for this season. So I wanted to do a tier ranking because I think it's more interesting, I think, to do it this way. And so yeah, we're gonna do tier rankings to recap each of the week, and we might as well get the elephant out of the room now. Jon Gruden is no longer the head coach of the Raiders. I'm not gonna get into my opinion on this. Go on Twitter, you'll see everybody's opinion, including mine. But I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to get into it. Jon Gruden is no longer the head coach. So let's get into the actual recap of the week. Now, kickers this week had an awful week. They were missing kicks left and right. I think I saw there was like 21, 25 total missed kicks. Kickers are not having a fun week this week. So a lot of these games had a different outcome because of missed kicks and everything else. And it all started on Thursday night with the Rams defeating the Seahawks 26-17. This game was pretty bad in the first half. Neither team really could do anything. Rams struggled, Seahawks struggled. But in the second half, the biggest play for the Seahawks was a huge PI allowing them to score a touchdown. The second half, the Rams came alive. Robert Woods dominated. The Seahawks defense was absolutely terrible. When Russ got injured, Geno Smith came in, had a nice drive, to help them, try to get back in the game. But then he threw an interception. And then, the game was never really in touch. The Seahawks really didn't play that good of a game. And then with Russ out now, it's not going to be a good, few weeks with him out. There was a fun little double punt in that game that blew up Twitter that night when it happened, and then kickers were kicking balls out of bounds, kicking field goals. Like the kicker issue started all the way on Thursday Night Football. So if I'm gonna rank each of these teams, in all honesty, I think the Seahawks, just the way they're doing right now, I don't think they're very good. Just because the rough season, Russ injured, their defense being terrible, and then the Rams, I think they're a Super Bowl contender. They had a rough week against the Cardinals. I don't think that's going to continue. Their defense definitely played a lot better. They did give up that long drive to Geno, but their defense played much better. And then their offense they struggled, the last three halves, but that second half they played much better. And so I still think the Rams are a Super Bowl contender. And then if we get to the Sunday games, the first game of the Sunday slate was the game in London between the Falcons Jets. Falcons won 27-20. The Jets are awful. They couldn't do anything in the second half, except for the fact that the Falcons almost did the most Falcons thing ever and gave up, it was like a 17 or 20 point lead to the Jets. And the Jets tried to make a comeback, but, the Jets were terrible. Kyle Pitts finally had a really good game, scoring a touchdown, going off that game. Matt Ryan had an awesome day, throwing for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then at the first half, at one point, the Falcons had 17 points, and the Jets had really only ran 6 plays. And then the Jets got bailed out by a penalty and a kickoff return to start the second half. I don't think this game was as close as it says. The Falcons completely dominated. So for the Falcons, in all honesty, I don't think they're good. They haven't had a very good season. Matt Ryan hasn't been, the best. Or he's been good. It's just that Falcons just as a team haven't been very good, and then the Jets obviously trash. They haven't been good at all this year. They've played one good half of football all year. I got a little too high on Zach Wilson after that week, the week game last week against the Titans. Next, we have the Lions Vikings, and this is when the kicking started to happen. I really thought the Vikings were going to choke this. Late in the game, the Vikings. I don't know why I said Titans. The Vikings gave up a touchdown to the Lions that gave the Lions the lead, and like 37 seconds left. And with 37 seconds left, and then the Vikings went down and scored a field goal. But the Lions went for 2, I think twice. Maybe it was just once to tie the game or to take the lead. But the Vikings, they came back with a quick drive, got into field goal range to win the game. I think the Lions are a really tough team. I know Dan Campbell crying isn't, many people's cup of tea, but he's showing heart. This team is, they're fighting till every last play. And then for the Vikings, I just think they're playing down to their competition. I feel like they should be so much better. Like the Cardinals, they play up to them, then they play the Lions, and then they play down to them. So I think the Lions are very inconsistent. But I mean, at least they have Alexander Madison, who's going to be very good for the Vikings while Dalvin Cook is out. So to rank these teams, I would have the Vikings, honestly, just a middle of the pack road. I think they have talent. I don't think they're using it. You have Jefferson, Adam Thielen on the offensive side. Kirk Cousins isn't playing terrible football. It's just they're not playing up their potential. And then if you look at the Lions, I'm putting them in not good, and I don't think they're trash. They may have not won a game yet, but the way that team fights, I mean, if they end up going 0-16, they're gonna have to drop down. But the way that they've been playing tough, I can't put them any lower because I love the fight in this team. Next we have the Saints, Washington. Jameis looked like his old self in this game, throwing some deep touchdown passes, but then also turning the ball over with fumbling and throwing interceptions. But he did have big numbers. He threw for 4 touchdowns, and then you have Alvin Kamara on their offense who can do anything. He had a big day running the ball and catching, racking up 2 touchdowns. Their offense looks better, and then for Washington, their defense is completely terrible. I mean, their defense. I don't know what happened to them. They're supposed to be good, and they have not been good. I feel like Heineke is hit or miss. He's either playing really good, or then he's struggling. And then Taysom Hill took a nasty hit in this game, which didn't look pretty. But I mean, Heineke, I think he's got I don't know. I like Heineke. I just feel like he's hit or miss. So with these two teams, I think the Saints are just the middle of the pack. They have a good defense, and it's just their offense, I think, has questions more than anything for this team. And then if you look at Washington, I don't think they're good. Their defense is not good. It's terrible. And then, their offense, I think their offense is good. You have Gibson, McLaurin, they have a couple good tight ends. It's just they're hit or miss. They play very well against the Falcons, and then the Saints, they didn't play very well. So I don't know. I think they have the potential to be very good. It's just they're very hit or miss team. Next, you have the Patriots, Texans. Patriots won 25-22. Patriots defense was awful in this first game. It looked like they didn't care to show up because the Texans opened up that game with like a 10.5-minute drive or something crazy like that. But the Texans, they played most of the game. Davis Mills threw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. They kept it close. I think they should have beaten this team easily, but Mac Jones had a solid game. He only threw an interception, and then they fumbled at the goal line. But I mean, Mac Jones came back. He didn't look bad. It's just, when his defense looked that bad, it made the team look a lot worse. But, I think they played all out last week against the Buccaneers in that game against Tom Brady in his return. So I just don't think they were prepared for this game, but they did win on a last-second field goal. So if I have to rate these teams, the Texans, I think, are just trash. They're not a good team. Davis Mills did have a good game, but this team is not very good. And I think the Patriots, honestly, have to go in the middle of the pack because I think they have a very good defense, and I think their offense obviously needs some work. It's not very flashy. They don't do big plays. They don't have very good, weapons, but I think they're a middle of the pack team right now. Next, you have the Buccaneers, Dolphins. Buccaneers destroyed 45-17. The Buccaneers pass defense didn't look the best again this week, but they have a lot of energy, so they'll be better. And then their run defense was great. Miami's not a good team. Tom Brady threw for over 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. Antonio Brown had 124 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then Mike Evans also had a massive game with 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, the Buccaneers just dominated this game. And for the Buccaneers, personally, I think the Buccaneers are a playoff team right now. Now, doesn't mean it can't change. I don't see them as a Super Bowl contender with how poorly their defense is playing. And the Miami Dolphins, I'm not putting them in trash. I don't think the Dolphins are good right now. So, I mean, yeah, I think Buccaneers as a playoff contender is definitely fair. But, as a Super Bowl contender, I don't think they are right now. Packers Bengals in a really fun game. Packers won 25-22. This game was dumb and stupid and drunk at the end of the game. There was 5 straight missed field goals. Mason Crosby missed 3 straight, hit the game-winning field goal after Joe Burrow threw an interception in overtime. We thought Rodgers drove him down the field after the Bengals missed a field goal. Then Mason Crosby missed that field goal. I mean, like I said, it was a bad day for kickers. The poor kicker for the Bengals kicked the ball, thought he made it, celebrated, didn't actually make it. But I mean, it was a bad game for kickers, but it was really entertaining, especially if you were watching on Red Zone. Joe Burrow did end up in the hospital with the throat contusion, whatever that is. This dude is tough. I really like his toughness and his ability just to, always battle, never lose. And then quietly, Devontae Adams had a 200-yard, his first career 200-yard receiving game. So, I mean, he's still he is the best receiver in football, arguably. So, I mean, it was just a fun game all around. I think both defenses played solid. I think both offenses have played solid. So, if we're looking at these teams, in all honesty, I think the Packers are a contender. They're a Super Bowl contender. Man, that team has been playing very good, very solid ever since week 1. Like, it's been hard to do anything against them. And then if you look at the Bengals, I think the Bengals are a playoff team. I've loved the way they have played. Played tough against a tough opponent in the Packers, and then beat Jacksonville with a massive second half. I think the Bengals have been playing very good football to start this season. And I think they have a chance to making the playoffs. Next we have the Broncos Steelers. Broncos Broncos lost 27-19 to the Steelers. The Steelers look much better in this game. Big Ben in the offense was connected on big plays. Steelers ran the ball a lot, and they gave Najee Harris 23 carries, 122 yards. Their defense had a fantastic game, and they clutched it at the end with an interception to end the game. The Broncos are frauds. Like, the people that were ranking the Broncos up there just because of their defense. Their offense hasn't done anything all season long. It's just their defense has been very good. But this week, I mean, the Steelers came in with a good game plan, won the game, and so I have to rank the Broncos honestly just middle of the pack. Because they have a defense, but their offense, still has questions. Or no, yeah. For the Broncos, their defense is good, offense has questions, and I think it's the same thing for the Steelers right now. I think they're just contenders because their defense is very, very good, but their offense. If their offense continues to play like this, they're easily going to be a playoff team. But right now, I think they are just middle of the pack. Next, you have the Eagles-Panthers. Sam Darnold is slowly each week turning back into his Jet self. He threw 3 interceptions, and the Panthers' offense was just not good. They had the lead, but they didn't put up a lot of points, against the Eagles. They should be better when Christian McCaffrey comes back, but, I mean, their defense was great in this game. They only gave up 21 points. You can't expect a defense to carry an entire team. But, yeah, the offense put that defense in bad situations the entire game. And then for the Eagles, Darius Slay is just a monster on their defense. So for these teams, for the Eagles personally, I don't think they're a good team right now, just because, I mean, their offense isn't very good. It hasn't, and they haven't really done anything this year to impress me. And then if you look at the Panthers, I think they're middle of the road. I think Sam Darnold has shown flashes of where he can be good, but also their defense is so good that, yeah, I don't think you can rank them any lower than what they are, middle of the pack. Next, we have the Titans-Jaguars. Titans just destroyed the Jaguars. Jacksonville tried to keep it close, but Derrick Henry just put it out of reach, running all over him. I mean, James Robinson for the Texans did have a very good game, rushing for 150 yards, but this game wasn't even close. So for the Jaguars, I think they are, in the dumpster. And honestly, for the Titans, just the way they've been playing, I think they are a playoff team right now. It's just, just the way that they're not like shutting out like they've shut out the bad teams and then they play poorly against, really good teams. But I still think they're a playoff team. I think their, offense, once it gets fully healthy, is going to be hard to stop. Next, we have the Browns-Chargers. Chargers won a thriller 47-42. This game was crazy. There was no defense to be played, especially in the fourth quarter. There was 1,000 combined yards. You had Brandon Staley making ballsy calls. The Browns at the end of the game forced the Chargers to score, to get the ball back. But then, Baker, for some reason, just choked under pressure, just started throwing checkdowns all the time, which literally didn't make any sense. Like, their clock management at the end of the game was terrible, And then there was a terrible pass interference call on the Browns that should have won against the Chargers that allowed the Chargers to score, and I think it tied the game. But I mean, I don't think that should be a fair assumption that changed the outcome of the game, because like the Browns, when they needed to most, made some really boneheaded decisions. Even though I think their run game is amazing. Chubb had 161 yards rushing. Njoku had 149 yards receiving. Herbert had almost 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then Mike Williams, they couldn't cover that dude. So to rank these teams, I think obviously Browns are a playoff team. And same for the Chargers. I think the Chargers are also a playoff team right now. So these two teams, I think, they're very good teams that might give both teams troubles. All right, and then the next game we have the Bears and Raiders. The Raiders are not a good team, and as I said, their head coach just resigned. They couldn't do anything offensively. The Bears defense just dominated them. Khalil Mack just gave them troubles all day. The Bears offense did enough to allow them to win the game. They did the little things right. They weren't flashy, like I said, make little plays. I want to see Justin Fields just sling up and let them open up the playbook for him. But I mean, other than that, I think the Bears played very good. The Raiders did not play good. And for the Bears, I would have them right now middle of the pack, because I think their defense is very good. It's just their offense hasn't, clicked really at all to start the season. And for the Raiders, I'm putting it not good. That team is in so much dysfunction right now. I don't care what their record says. They're 3-2. I don't think they're very good right now. Next, you have the 49ers and Cardinals. These two defenses were on it during that game. They were playing like it was a divisional matchup. And I like how the Cardinals proved that they can win anyway, a shootout, high-scoring game, low-scoring game. I think they're the number one team in the NFL right now. And then the 49ers, they look good, only allowing 17 points. Trey Lance struggled, showed some flashes of, really good, toughness, running to the goal line. He did get stuff, but he took, the hit. And so, I mean, you look at these teams, I think once the 49ers get healthy, they'll be better. So if you look at these teams, I think the Cardinals are definitely a Super Bowl contender right now. They're winning every way possible, and it's hard to deny them. And I think the 49ers are in the middle of the pack. I think their injuries have just gotten to them right now. So I think they'll be better, but I mean, the injuries just don't help. All right, the next game we have is the Giants and Cowboys, and the Cowboys just dominated the Giants today. Or in that game. They're legit from offense, defense. They have Diggs and Parsons to their offensive Dak, and Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb, their running backs, Tony Pollard, Zeke Elliott. I mean, they had 2 early turnovers, but just stomped them. And then the poor Giants, man, their injuries: Barkley, Jones, Galladay, all injured. It's just bad, and I hate this for the Giants. I don't think the Giants are good. They're not very good. And honestly, I think the Cowboys are honestly a playoff team right now. Like, I don't want to put them in favorites yet. There's something about me that just doesn't want to do it for the Cowboys, but they have been playing fantastic all year. And so, yeah, the Cowboys are definitely a contender. Next, we have Chiefs-Bills. Do I really have to talk about this? The Chiefs played awful. Bills are dominant. They shut down the Chiefs. They caused them to have 4 turnovers. The Chiefs are just not a good football team. And the Bills, man, they are legit. Like, Josh Allen is playing like an MVP. They said his schedule was weak. He just came in and destroyed. There was some bad officiating calls, but I mean, at the end of the day, the Chiefs played terrible. I don't think they matter. I hope Clyde is okay, and so is Kelsey. They took some hits, and Tyreek got injured, and Joe Tooney got hurt. There were some injuries, but I mean, the Bills are a very good, legit team. The Chiefs are not a good football team right now. So for the Chiefs, honestly, they're just a middle of the pack team. They can't do anything defensively. Their offense hasn't looked, very good at all this season. And so I think they're middle of the pack. And then for the Bills, I think they're a Super Bowl contender, honestly, right now. Just the way that they have been playing, they're just dominating everybody they play. So they are definitely a playoff team. And then on Monday Night Football, you had the Ravens Colts. Lamar Jackson is officially an elite quarterback. I'm done denying it. He threw for 442 yards, four touchdowns, led his team back from being down 22-9 in the fourth quarter. And his team, in the first half, they did not play well. They were they could not do anything in the first half, but the second half they just flat out balled. I think Carson Wentz had a good game. I really do. Like, this is one of his best games. He was finding receivers, putting them into places. They were destroying that secondary of the Ravens. But I mean, but what cost them was a blocked field goal and a missed field goal that could have helped them. This game was really fun. The fourth quarter was crazy. And so for these two teams, for the Colts, I would have to put them also in the middle of the road because they've shown flashes of good, but they haven't been the best. And then I think for the Ravens, you have to put them as a Super Bowl contender. How could you not? They've played fantastic football all year round. I mean, they won on a last second field goal overtime against the Raiders, but then this game, from being down 22-9 in the fourth quarter, coming back to win it, I think the Ravens are a legit team and are going to be hell for the AFC to deal with.